And now I've properly turned on my microphone, things that we have to learn in real live time now. So, welcome again if you didn't hear me before. For item 3B, report of action taken in closed session, there was no closed session action tonight. And in the agenda hearing period, item 3C, public communications. I don't have any fancy cards saying there are people here, but are there people here to give public communication? Oh, Chris is here. Okay. So please, Chris Powell, please come on up to the podium.
Green, so we'll go. All right, my name is Chris Powell. I'm a member of the Facilities Advisory Committee, the advisory committee to the Superintendent, Dr. Moore. So I'm here to speak on the agenda item regarding the Center Street School drop-off project. So I just wanted to let you know our committee, this is actually sort of the different alternatives for this project actually came up from one of the members of our committee. It had got to the point of in some design, and one of our committee members, that's both a contractor and a parent, sort of came back and said, I really think we need to look at some maybe come up with our options with this. And we went back to the construction manager and to the architect, and they came up with this additional option. So I just want to let you know we had a survey of the committee, and 7 of the 8 members are recommending the meandering path alternative. But I also want to recognize our committee that we meet every month, at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. We also attend actual on-site walkthroughs of the different projects and just sort of to advise the superintendent. So, but I just want to recognize a member of our committee as well. Other than myself, there's Franklin, who's an architect here in town. And everyone that serves on the committee is also probably a parent as well. So they have professional hat, but they also have perspective as a parent too, which is key. So Franklin, like I said, a local architect. Andrew Bart, who works for a large general contractor. Also Carolyn Elder, she's our ESTA representative. Scott Lane, who's a contractor here in town, another member of our committee. William Ochoa is the CSEA representative. And Stephanie Rasmussen or Tess, she works for a transportation consulting firm here in the local area. Mike Rotolo is a local contractor with TG. And I think that's it. And of course we have Dr. Ferris advises us, and he's always bringing things to us. So, but it's a very good committee. When I was on the board many years ago, we couldn't have done what we did without the Facilities Advisory Committee. So I'm glad the superintendent has reinstituted that, and I think it's helpful, and it gives that community perspective, but also gets that contractor perspective, which I think is really vital. So I just want to let you know our recommendations. I can't say for the actual item, but I want to come up and at least mention it. So thank you.
We're also very pleased to have Bill Goodkin joining the committee in June.
That's right.
As a new member to fill all our seats.
Okay, great. Any other public communications this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you again, Chris, for coming up and speaking tonight and for your service. Our first special presentation tonight is a recognition of certificated and classified retiring employees. And I believe Dr. Ferris will come up and lead us in this.
Good evening, President Miller-Zarnicki, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Moore, and our folks that are watching from home. We're at that time of year every year where we're starting to celebrate our students, celebrate our closure of the year, and for some people, closure of high school and closure of elementary school and middle school. The same is true for some of our teachers who have invested enough years in their careers serving youth that they have reached a milestone where they will be retiring and moving on to the next chapter in their lives. And so this year we're celebrating 4 individuals who will be retiring after long careers serving children in El Segundo. And we have 2 of those folks who are with us tonight. 2 are already off enjoying their retirement, and I'll comment on them as well. And so after I say a few words about each individual, we'll have them come up. They'll provide us with some parting words, and then we have a token of our appreciation to share as well. So, as I mentioned, we have 4 retirees. They're all retiring teachers. We have no retiring classified staff so far this year. As I mentioned, 2 of them actually have already retired. They left at the end of the first semester. That's Linnell Harada, who is our college and career educational advisor at El Segundo High School. Dana Lund, a longtime coach and biology teacher, also from El Segundo High School. Both of them are off enjoying the fruits of retirement. Dana's on the East Coast celebrating his son's college graduation, and Linnell is visiting with her grandbaby in Nevada. So they weren't able to join us. We will make sure that they receive their retirement gift as well. And with that, I will speak to the guests that we have with us this evening. And our first guest is Miss Ann Leonard, Center Street school teacher. She's here with us this evening. Ann Leonard is retiring from a 40-year career in education. We are very fortunate that she spent the last 21 years here in El Segundo teaching at Center Street School. She's an alumnus of Mount St. Mary's College with a bachelor's degree and a master's in education. She's also a nationally board certified teacher. She started her career in private education, teaching primary grades. She spent some time as an assistant principal, actually, at a private school. And eventually, she made her way into public education in the Glendale School District, where she spent a few years before she landed in El Segundo. Ever since then, she has been a part of the fabric of Center Street School, a staple of the Center Street family of teachers, known for providing a safe space for students to take risks and learn from self-reflection. She actively engages in collaboration with her peers and is a leader at her school. Looking through her personnel file, some of the words that were commonly used by her administrators and evaluators are collaborative, effective communicator, enthusiastic, engaging, positive, thoughtful, dynamic, effective, compassionate, creative, organized, and a lifelong learner. When I was speaking with Principal Monahan, she shared the following thoughts that I'll share with you now. Miss Ann Leonard is the quintessential elementary teacher. Adept at integrating language arts instruction into every subject, her fifth graders leave her class for middle school as powerful readers and writers. Students engage in deep discussions about literature that they have selected in their book clubs and find their own voices through their daily writing practice. Walking into Miss Leonard's classroom during a social studies class feels like taking a trip through Revolutionary America or 18th century England. Passers-by may catch a slight British accent or an Irish brogue escaping from room 2 on any given day as her students delight in her joyful theatric play. Nationally board certified and beloved by her students, Miss Leonard's classroom is a well-oiled machine. She and her students respect one another in a classroom where expectations are clear and it is safe to take risks throughout the learning process. The positive impact that she has had on a generation of students in the Center Streets and El Segundo communities cannot be estimated, but it becomes absolutely clear as Eagle graduates search out Miss Leonard each year during their graduation walk. And your sense of humor, dedication, expertise, and passion for teaching and learning will be sorely missed at Center Street School, but on behalf of all the teachers and administrators who have worked with you, I wish you the very best in your next adventure. Now, if you would join us at the mic.
Oh, I get to speak now? I wanted to bring my very special teacher bag because you can't leave home without a teacher's bag, right? And I also brought a few books because I wanted to share a couple books with y'all. And John said that I could speak a little bit. He said I could say a few words. Did you hear that, Martha?
I heard it.
Okay, well,
You didn't give her a minute limit, did you?
oh, thank goodness. Because, I am the writing teacher. Anyway. Oh, I would love that. And I would love to do that because I use it all day. So this is a great privilege and honor to be here. But should I pull this down? Don't touch it. Oh, thank you, Danny. All right, so I had to unfog my glasses here. So, good evening, school board members, Dr. Moore, Dr. Monahan, administrators, teachers, colleagues, aides, Is that better? Family and friends. And Marisa, worked with you so long. And I brought my son, Neil, over there. He's my supporter, lifelong supporter. All my colleagues out there, aides, family, and friends. So I would really like to thank all of you for your leadership and dedication to the families and students of El Segundo. I always tell my kids, take a deep breath. Okay, so after 21 years in El Segundo, and I think more like between 35 and 40 years of teaching, it's time for you all to do your happy dance. Because I'm leaving, I'm retiring, and my grandkids taught me that happy dance, and I've never forgotten it. They're great teachers too. So you may wonder where all this began. Well, I grew up in the great state of Illinois as the 7th of 8 children. My dad was fiercely independent, and he owned his own business. And my mom kept everything in order on the home front. My parents taught us to value education, honesty, curiosity, and to have a strong work ethic. Can I take this off? Okay. And you'll see my Band-Aid. Everybody wonders about the Band-Aid. But my grandson said, Grammy, that doesn't look very good. Do you think I should put a Band-Aid on it? He said, yes, you should. So I put a Band-Aid on it for you, Nitai. So one memory of my childhood was when a stray dog wandered through our neighborhood. Now, we didn't have pets because we had enough animals in the house with all of the kids. But all the kids in the neighborhood rushed to pet this lost dog. When it was my turn, I looked deep into that dog's eyes as I petted it, and I asked the dog, who are you? Who is that hidden inside you? The next day in my 5th grade class, I was actually in 5th grade, I raised my hand and I asked the teacher, do animals have souls? She said, no, animals do not have souls. I asked her why she thought that, and she gave me some vague answer. And I thought to myself, I know animals have souls because I saw that soul in his eyes. And thus began my quest for knowledge of the soul and the real purpose of life. So as I skip forward a few years, aren't you glad about that, Dylan? As I entered high school, my mom suggested a pathway for me, and I took some great courses and some not so great courses. But I knew that I loved theater, student government, and business. I represented our high school at the state level in student government. I received speaking parts in all of the plays, although you can't tell that right now. And I was the queen of fundraising for clubs and charities. Late in my senior year, I decided I was going to go to college. And my friend Eddie said, hey, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I said, well, I'm going to go to college. He said, what? You can't go to college. You didn't take all the right courses. I looked at him and I said, watch me. And I enrolled in SIU and paid my own tuition with my savings that I had earned that year. And those snapshots that I've just shared with you of the events in my life highlight 3 things that I tried desperately to instill in my students. Curiosity. Never stop wondering, learning, and trying to improve. Guess what? After years of searching, I found an amazing book. It's called this, the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. And in that book, I found the answer to my questions. I lost my spot. It described actually the transmigration of the soul and proved to me that animals and all living entities actually have a soul. It's an ancient book written in Sanskrit and translated into English with purports. Everything that I read in this book made so much sense, and it helped me to understand the real purpose of life. I never thought of becoming a teacher until I read this book. If you'd like a copy, please let me know, and I'll get you a copy, because you know how much I love to share books. And speaking of sharing books, Zoe, a former student of mine last year, she recently emailed me a picture of an Amazon package and asked, "Guess what's in this package?" The next shot was a picture of this book. It's the third book of the Endling series. "What? There's another book in this series?" I responded. She said, "Yep, and I got it. My mom pre-ordered it for me." I was like, so then when she finished the book, Zoe wrote me a bit of a note back. "Last night, I read the last chapter of Endling 3, putting a very joyful and beautiful end to the trilogy. I want to thank you so much for introducing me to this book. I never knew how much I could fall in love with book characters until I read Endling the last. I am so grateful for finding this story, and I'm so grateful that I got lucky enough to be one of your students." I should have put this in a bigger font. And just as soon as I read the words, chapter 1 of book 1, I read the final sentence of book 3 just as quickly. The next thing I try to teach my students is determination. Always push yourself, and do not let anyone tell you that you cannot reach your goal. When someone tells me that I can't do something, I think, watch me, and work even harder to reach my goal. Guess what, Eddie? I have a BS, a MS, and I'm a national board certified teacher. Children, if you apply for a grant, educational program, job, etc., and do not get accepted the first time, try harder the next time. Change your strategies. Don't give up. You'll be accepted. Right, Charlotte? That's what happened to Charlotte. She kept trying, never gave up, and she's where she wants to be now. And the work ethic. I don't know what it is about the Midwest, but those people raise people that work hard. Yeah, especially when you're in a family of 10. Over the years, I've spent thousands of hours reading and scoring your children's assignments, assessments, guiding them as readers and writers, and sharing great books, etc. One thing I will miss more than anything when I retired is reading your children's writing. It makes me laugh, cry, fills me with wonder and awe, and guides my teaching. I have to tell you, sometimes when I read children's writing, I'm like, I don't think I could write that today. That's amazing. We have great writers in El Segundo. Please don't, let's see. The children of El Segundo Unified School District have been given such incredible opportunities. Children, please don't be distracted by the games and social media. Work hard, and you will be able to change our world and take care of the earth and each other. Now, you know I did not take this journey alone, and I would like to thank my very own children for all of their support and understanding throughout my career. Neil is in the audience tonight. That's my buddy. And he actually worked as an aide at Center Street School. As we walked up, he said, I was here before when I interviewed for the aide position. And when he asked me for advice on a career path, I said, don't be a teacher. It's really hard. Guess what? Neil is a science teacher at MBMS, and I'm so glad that he did not listen to me, because he is an unbelievable teacher who trained with Teach for America and has taught hundreds of impoverished children and is now inspiring his science students to take action to save our beaches and planet. His words are always so positive and wise. Can you believe me? Believe that? My son actually counsels me on what to do in the classroom. He has great strategies. Then, of course, I have my son, Drew. I see you guys. I hope you're out there watching me. And he's married to none other than the famous Poonam Leonard, our teacher on special assignment, who helped all of us navigate distance learning and all of the new platforms. I promise you, I would not have made it through this year without Poonam Leonard. She is so patient, helpful, and we are the best of friends. She's not my daughter-in-law, she's my friend. So Poonam, Drew, and Nitai inspire me every minute of every day. They are the most incredible parents. And my oldest is my daughter and her family. Andy, Maddie, and Sarah live in Maryland, and I'm so grateful for their love and support from afar. When I visit, it seems like the weight of the world is lifted. They have so many parks and libraries in Maryland. Thank you to Martha, Luke, and all the past and present Center Street teachers, Tina, Yvette, Wes, Ruben, and Kirby, and Ruben and May and Juan and Leilani, and the aides and families and kids for your kindness, challenges to keeping me on my toes, and your support. I am so grateful for the opportunity to work with so many children here at Center Street School over the years. I actually realized it's over 1,000, because when you teach 3 or 4 groups of at least 2 groups a day, you're in the thousands. So think of all those papers. I wasn't lying, really. So I'd love to ask you to take care of each other. You are our jewels, and you are also very precious. May the Lord bless you all and keep you safe and healthy. And let me know if you want one of these books. And I did want to say a shout out to a couple other people, Joni Moon, Irma Kessler, who passed away this last summer, Kyle Bender, Valerie Sandowitz, just these great team players that I've worked with over the years, made life easier for me and such a joy. And I want to give a last shout out, of course, to my family, but PK, the spin class leader, who really helped on those stressful days. You could just write it out, and the helicopter's going to come back soon. So thank you all. Thank you, thank you. I love you all. Thank you for all that you've done for myself, the students, the families. This is an amazing community. And parents, check in on your kids. Check and see their work. Just give them a pat on the back. So let me see that. Oh my gosh, you are amazing. You got to check in on them, because you know what they say? I'm finished. I did it. And then they get to school and maybe it's not quite finished. So check in on them and maybe limit those hours on the screens. Okay, thank you all. Take care. Sorry.
And before you go, we have just a small parting gift, which is your retirement plaque in appreciation for your years of service to the students and staff at El Segundo Unified.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on now to our next retiree, and I'd like to recognize Miss Meredith Beechley. I don't think there's a person in El Segundo who doesn't know Miss Beechley. She's like Ms. El Segundo. But she spends most of her time teaching math and science at El Segundo Middle School. A couple of her accomplishments here in El Segundo Unified include the implementation of the outdoor science school program, which is, a mainstay here in El Segundo. It is a tried and true tradition now, and we owe that to Miss Beechley, who's been running that program every year since it started. She's taken many kids to Astro Camp, and she's really just been a model of being a lifelong learner and lover of science. When I get ready for these things, I flip through their personnel files just to see if there's anything in there I should call out. And I was pleasantly surprised to find a whole packet in there about the year that she went to space camp. And I don't mean she took kids to space camp. I mean, she went to space camp herself. Like, that was her vacation, was to go to space camp. And That's the kind of passion she has for the subject and the kind of passion she brings back to students here in El Segundo. And we've all been so fortunate and blessed to have her as part of the team here. Personally, you know, I'm in human resources. I work on the bargaining team and with the bargaining teams. Meredith has been on the bargaining team the entire time that I've been here, and it has just been a pleasure working with her. I've certainly appreciated her demeanor, her affable demeanor, and really her candor. If you know Meredith Beechley, she doesn't pull any punches. A little bit more about her. I think if you know Meredith, you know she's from Kansas. She worked as a teacher long before she came to El Segundo. She worked at Central Middle School in Kansas City from '82 to '99. She earned her bachelor's in science at Emporia State University and a master's from Mid-America Nazarene. She loves the Chiefs. I think you're probably aware that she loves the Chiefs. During football season, you can find Miss Beechley working the chain gang at our own ESHS football games on Friday nights, and you can find her planted at the Standard Station on Sundays to watch her beloved Kansas City Chiefs. Her devotion to her team, her students, and the community was rewarded a couple of years ago, you may recall, when the community raised funds and sent her off to watch the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl. And I can't think of anybody more deserving. A few notes from her administrators. First, from Dr. Gooden, her former principal. I can't think of anyone more dedicated to El Segundo Middle School than Meredith Beechley. A true bulldog at heart, Meredith touches the life of every single child in her presence. In addition to teaching math, science, and design lessons, she makes every student in her class feel loved, confident, and capable. A positive energy always radiates from Meredith's classroom. It was a true privilege to work with Meredith during my tenure at ESMS. Principal Wright says, to be honest, I do not know how we'll start school in August without Meredith. Meredith is beloved by students, parents, and teachers because she is fearless, she is tough yet compassionate, and she loves her students. Fueled by Dr. Pepper, the love for the Chiefs, and her yearly trip to OSS, Meredith Beechley has never wavered in her commitment to her students. This was never more evident than during the COVID shutdown. Meredith worked with her team to create new and innovative lessons for her students. For someone who claims to not be tech savvy, Meredith worked with multiple screens, computers, and Elmos to provide engaging lessons for her students. She is the aunt to many staff members, always available for advice and consultation. Meredith gives you the answer you need, not necessarily the answer you want. She is a leader on campus. I'm honored to have been able to learn from Meredith for the last 18 months. There will be a huge hole in the JM 101. ESMS loves you, Meredith. Congratulations on your retirement. We will miss seeing you on campus every day, but we know you will not be able to stay away. And with that, we'd like to bring you up.
Have my Chiefs on. You know, what can I say? Okay, I'm glad I have a microphone because I actually have a little vocal cord issue going on right now. So I've been teaching for 39 years, and I think my voice has just finally said, yeah, I'm done. All the cheering, all the yelling, all the football games, all the stuff, and my voice is finally just kind of given out on me right now. So kind of bear with me. There is absolutely no way I can follow that. Like, seriously? Are you kidding me? So I'm going to pull out my props, and I'm going to pull out my speech. Oh yeah, I don't have one. Because I'm going to do this just like I do my classroom. I fly by the seat of my pants most of the time, and I always have, and I always will, and I will be honest, and I will be upfront, and I will expect the absolute best out of my students, because that's what I do. And it's time, and this is really, really hard. It's really hard to say goodbye. This has become a wonderful community. When Dr. Fair shared the little Super Bowl thing, I still tear up every time I tell that story, and I do tell it all the time. A lot of times to people who don't really give a, like I'm standing in a line, I go, want to hear the time I got to go to the Super Bowl? I got to go. My town sent me. I don't know if you all know this, but the Tuesday after the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs beat the 49ers, by the way, if any of you ever watch K-Earth 101, or listen to K-Earth 101, they have Tell Me Something Good Tuesday. So I called them up at, like 6:30 in the morning, said, I'll tell you something good. Want to hear my story? And I told them my story about how this town has embraced me and sent me to the Super Bowl, and I got to watch my Chiefs win. And I won Tell Me Again Something Tuesday. And so they called me in class, and I'm like, should I answer the phone in class? Sure, I will. So I answered the phone, and I told my kids, I go, guys, it's K-Earth. It's K-Earth 101. And a couple of kids were like, K-Earth 101. And so they sang to K-Earth 101, and it was so exciting. I have lots of people I can thank. I don't have the list, but you all know, everybody in this room I've talked to, you all know who I am and how much I appreciate you all. My colleagues at school, all my colleagues in ESTA. I'm a firm believer in the union. I've fought very hard for all of us in the union. I've been on the bargaining team, as they said. I've gone to 15 representative assemblies all over the United States, representing teachers, because that's what I do. I firmly believe in what I do. I'm a little sad that it's time to go, but it is. It's time to go. I'm going to be around. I'm planning on doing, well, I've already promised Susie croissants. So let's be honest, we all know Susie needs a croissant every once in a while. Those of you who've been to middle school, right? Everybody's nodding. But I'm also planning on hopefully doing some work with the Ed Foundation. I'd like to do some work with, well, I haven't decided yet. Actually, I want to get a job at SoFi. I'd like to be the chain person for the Rams, but I don't think I have the pull. Like I don't know where you go for that. But Mike, if you know anybody, I'm just saying, I've got experience. Most of it's JV, but I did get moved up to varsity this year, so we only had one gay, but I did a really good job. I'm just saying. So if you know anybody, I am out there. So I'm going to let this go for right now because I didn't bring props in a speech. And I'm going to say thank you very much to everyone, and I'll see you around.
And that concludes our presentation.
Yeah. Are we able to take pictures? Are we allowed to take pictures with our retirees? But before we do that, while you're all hugging out there, I just want to say a couple words because I had the honor of having Miss Leonard be a teacher for one of my sons, and it was an amazing experience. He did not like writing until he got into her class. I will just say I attribute her to his growth in so many ways, so thank you. I'm glad that we ended up there. Thank you, Dr. Monahan, for putting us there. However that worked out, glad we were there for his 5th grade year. And Miss Beechley, I don't know how neither of my sons have ended up in your class, but they both loved outdoor science school. Having gone into it with a little hesitation, they came home ecstatic. So thank you for that in particular, but for both of you, for all your service here. We are very lucky to have had you for so long, doing so many amazing things here with thousands of students, literally thousands. So thank you so much. That's all for me. Anyone else have words to share?
So, of course, I am super sad. Miss Leonard, you are currently my son's 5th grade teacher, so I guess you guys will both be leaving together. When I read that you were retiring, I thought, oh my goodness, because what I've learned is that you keep a good secret. So thank you for everything this year. I could not think of a more patient, calm, supportive person to take my child through such a very rocky year. So thank you. And to Ms. Beechley, you had my daughter Grace in science, and you had both of my babies, one of which you took amazing care of at her first sleepaway at sleepaway camp, or OSS. And I thank you. I thank you for being so amazing, so bold, so brave. And it's tough to see you leave, but I know you will still be around. I'm sure I will see you everywhere, and I thank you for your dedication, and I wish you the best.
There we go. All right, that's great. Can you hear me? Meredith, I just want to say congratulations on your new chapter. Oh my. I know you're going to love it. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you all these years. Oh, shoot. Because this is a happy moment, a very happy moment. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you around town.
Is this good? You know, I somehow don't know how I didn't know you were retiring, and I'm kind of at a loss of words, Miss Beechley. One of the biggest things that I missed in middle school, I didn't even have you as a teacher, and you still had an amazing impact on just my academic career. So many students, I mean, there are not many teachers that students talk to outside of class, for good and for bad, but everyone had a just, we still talk about you to this day. I mean, you really had an impact on just so many students. I mean, you were a staple of high school football here. We can't think of the middle school or even our JV freshman football games without Miss Beechley on the sidelines. I mean, sophomore year, for those of you who don't know, I broke my leg, and Miss Beechley was right there to give me her fancy crutches, and took me longer than I like to admit to figure out how to work them. But you really just had such a great impact on this community, and I thank you for all your years at El Segundo.
Well, when I hear 35 to 40, Miss Leonard quoted, it's been so much she doesn't even know anymore. And, I heard Meredith should throw out 39-ish. I think, what have you two seen in your education experience? It has to be enormous, daunting. I thank you for sticking that out and still being leaders in this community. I think you could have kind of slide back those last couple years and just ridden the wave, but I know both of you have taken on challenging things in the last couple years and pushed envelopes when you didn't. You could have rested on your laurels, I guess is what I just thank you. We were at Center Street with Miss Leonard, and we had Sandowitz, but there was they swapped classes, and you don't understand the impact that you guys have. And poor Miss Beechley was my neighbor for a while, so I know Meredith, she got to listen to my kids playing in the backyard and hearing her yell across the fence even. It's just fun, and that's what El Segundo is about. And I thank you. If we could have every teacher in their 30 plus years as dedicated as you guys are, it's just a testament to your love of children, education, and what an amazing impact you have left on more kids than you'll ever imagine. Thank you. Enjoy retirement. You guys have earned this. I doubt, knowing you two, that you're not going to still be involved in education in some way, because I know the love that you have, but it's on your terms, and how great. You deserve that, and just thank you for years and years. It's almost as long as I've been alive, so I am so impressed. So thank you.
There's a common theme that I think we heard tonight, and it was expressed in the word love. And I can't thank you both for the love of the vocation and for your students. the many years that you have given to this community. There's a saying, you know, as a teacher, you'll never be celebrated, but you will be remembered. And the many seeds that you planted with your students and the education that you gave them in being lifelong learners is something that money can't buy. It's something that will withstand the test of time. And so I'm so grateful as a teacher to be associated with you on this board and to know you. And Ms. Beechley, I just have to tell you this. There wasn't a game that we weren't out there that if we won or lost, it was just okay because you were there. And I want you to understand that presence isn't something that is normal in these times, but your presence did make that impact with us. And I get the feeling, Ms. Leonard, that it's a mutual thing with you and your students and the families that you've interacted with. And so thank you both very much for your time and your lives, because that's what you've given to this community. And so today, I'm just really grateful that we could find this small time to celebrate you.
So yeah, I would like to, if we can, have a picture with our retirees up here. So come on up, please, so we can do that. I mean, we're going to keep our masks on, so I think we're not breaking any rules. So please join us.
They gotta come too.
Sorry, it's taken us all a moment to get back into our places because we haven't been in places in so long. This is exciting. And some of us have had knee surgery, so we're waiting for you. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So we will move on to, I hate doing this, another goodbye. But we are moving on to item 4B, which is recognition of outgoing student representative. That would be you, Benny. So we understand this is your last meeting with us. So we are here to express our gratitude to you for your amazing dedication to this. I mean, you came into every meeting prepared, focused. You put up with us rambling through all kinds of stuff and then came back with your vote and your very thoughtful input when asked. You were, and even, you know, you freely shared it, and we are so grateful for that because we can only know so much from where we are, but your student perspective is priceless. So we definitely will miss you being here specifically, but your perspective stays with us. Like we definitely heard you and we'll carry that forward even if you're moving on to bigger and better things out there in the world. So But I think, you know, the high school has definitely been better for having you in it. Our whole district has. And you know, your leadership as an amazing student has been a beautiful role model for your fellow students. And we know that you're going to do great things beyond here, but we're grateful for what you did while you were here. So we do have a little something we're going to deliver, but before I get up, I'll let others speak if they wish to, because we're going to make you get up and take a picture and hug and all that stuff. So others, anyone?
Well, I just, you know, what a year. And you finally get to be here. Welcome. I don't know, for better or for worse, you know, I appreciate, you know, we've had a lot of heavy conversations this year on what education is and how it affects things. And I think, you know, sometimes we kind of talk adults and having a student representative, and you've done a great job this year saying, you know, from a student perspective, or I think, and that is something that was invaluable. You know, when we had a couple decisions to make, to hear what was going on and thoughts of students was great. Thank you for being willing to speak up in those. You know, sometimes it's easier to just sit over there and be quiet, but we need that. And I thank you for that. Hopefully you got to see a little bit about, you know, how this works. I feel a little bad that, and it's probably nice for you that you know, the way it worked out. You know, everything works out for a reason. I keep telling my kids it all works out and it's going to be fine, and you've done a great job. So, you know, after everyone's done, I do want to hear, I think it's important, tell us what you're doing next year, you know, on your little final thoughts. Make sure you fill us in.
Yeah, definitely. Other board members?
So Benny, I have to tell you, I did not know you before coming and sitting on the board, but I can tell you I will never forget you. You have left an imprint on my heart. And I'll tell you, we had some difficult decisions to make. And your perspective was so authentic, it was so pure, it was so timely, and I thank you for that. I thank you for leaving me with peace in the decision going forward, knowing that we had done something that globally we thought was right, but more importantly, locally, you confirmed that it was the right way to go. And I appreciate you for that. That's it for me.
I remember the day your mom and dad told me that you were going to become part of this world. And, you know, I've watched you grow up. You've lived your whole life next door to us, right? And I've been yelling at you since you were a little kid about everything, including football, and especially in football. And Benny, you're an amazing young man, and I'm so proud to be able to be your Uncle Wag, you know. And it's extremely, extremely important that you understand, you know, your parents and I and everybody around you just have the utmost respect for your work ethic. And I know, because we all talk about it all the time, and we know you're going to do great things in college, and you're going to make a great life for yourself. And just know that all your uncles and aunties out there and everybody in the family is very proud of you. Okay? Love you, kid.
All right. Well, Benny, if you want to share with us your parting thoughts.
I also did not know this would be my last meeting. So I'll be speaking straight from the heart here. Thank you all. Honestly, it was not what I expected when I first signed up. I guess I'm a bit unprepared. I didn't know I was even doing board meetings when I first signed up for president. But this has really been just an amazing experience, just getting to see the inner workings of the school district, not just at the high school with ASB, but all of it from every single level. You know, it's been just so cool working alongside Coach Wag and all of the other members. I mean, I've known Abby Lane, some of these other, or I know Abby Lane, Miss Emily Lane, for so long now, and just being able to work with them on this level and just see the impact that they have on the school itself is just so great. Really, what you guys have done here is, I think, amazing, and I think you, especially this year in COVID, your guys' ability to adapt and just do whatever we can to get the students back, I think, has been truly amazing. I mean, me and my friends, it's just, sorry, it's really great just seeing everyone back. I mean, there was a lot of people that were just down. It was not a good time when the pandemic first hit, even within the first year of just everyone being at home from the student side. It was not good. Grades were dropping. People were really upset, to say the least. And seeing you guys every single meeting do everything we can to just even nudge a little bit, add a little more people, open conditioning, all this stuff to get up more. It's just great. I mean, people now are actually happy and excited to go to school. I mean, you can see just like what 75% of the high school itself is in person. They had the option, we had maybe a month left of school. They could have easily just taken that at home. And no, people wanted to come back. And I really wanted to commend you guys on that. Thank you for all that you said, and thanks for Swag. It's been really great. That is the last time I'll see you. I mean, but yeah.
What's next year, Benny?
Next year, I'm going to Rochester Institute of Technology in New York. I will be majoring in mechanical engineering with the focus on aerospace, and I'm going to do the accelerated program, so in 5 years I get my bachelor's and master's. Wow. Yes.
You know, I forgot to tell you, I tell all the students when they come here, you've seen what it takes. I want to challenge you when you get older to be in these seats. I tell all the students, I think a lot of communities don't understand, but you've gotten to see. So give back. When you get older, you can do it. Hearing you talk about all the kids back, it really, we've talked as ASB. I've been down there with you guys a lot, and it stinks what you guys have gone through, but you'll be stronger, and you'll realize what's really important. I think this last year is really teaching people what's really important, and I think what's really important is helping each other, serving each other, and you've been a great example, and I can't wait to see you in one of these seats someday when you have kids or in a community, and then just remember what it takes.
All right.
I just want to say, Benny, it's been a tremendous pleasure, and as Member Lane said, this year will make you more resilient, will make you understand, will make you have more empathy as you go into life. We are very proud of you. You represented the students strong. Go Eagles. You will always be an Eagle, and we look forward to continuing to watch you grow into adulthood and launch successfully in a career. So congratulations. And on behalf of the board, our board president has a little token for you.
Meet him over there for a picture as well. Let's meet you for a picture. It's going to take somebody a minute to get there. We'll meet you over there. All right, so I apologize we sprung that on you, but I bet you're prepared to do what you normally do in this meeting, which is our next item on the agenda, which is your student representative report. So now, Benny, share with us what's going on at the high school.
Perfect. Okay, to begin, we held our 4.0 celebration for students who have achieved a 4.0 GPA or higher throughout all of high school on this Monday, the 24th. We had a total of around the 300 student class, 79 students as part of the celebration. Also, our own varsity girls soccer has officially made it to the CIF finals and will be playing this Friday in the championship match for the first time in school history. Tickets for the school play and movie, The Theory of Relativity, are now on sale, as well as late orders for the graduation fundraiser now being taken. Choir held an in-person concert on Saturday, April 22nd, and finally, we held our first senior college decision day, in which seniors would rep their college gear, take photos with friends in their school merch, as well as write their name and college on a large sheet of paper and or with chalk across the blacktop. That is all.
All right, exciting stuff there. Thank you, Benny, and enjoy the rest of your school year there and all the fun stuff that you as a senior get to do. You've well earned it, so our best wishes to you and your whole class as you go forward. All right, our next item on the agenda is a discussion item, consideration and possible action on readjusting board meeting start time beginning June 22nd. Dr. Moore, you want to set that up?
Yes, I'd just like to frame this for the board prior to the discussion. So at our May 11th board meeting, there was a decision made to return for in-person board meetings starting today. And the decision for that meeting was a 5 o'clock closed session time and a regular board meeting time of 6 p.m. We did have two options for the board to consider, and decision was made for a single meeting. And then I had to throw a little bit of a alteration in our plan in the fact that our county office required us to indicate public hearing times in advance. And so we will need the June 8th meeting to also remain at these times. So our discussion tonight would specifically be regarding when you would like board meeting times to start for June 22nd and moving forward. There's nothing that would preclude the board from trying this for several months and then readjusting or having the discussion again to see if it's working for everyone. As I shared at the last meeting, it is the administration's preference to go with option one, but we are here to serve at the will of the board, and so are happy to make any adjustments necessary. That's all I have.
Okay. So, board members, your thoughts on timing? I personally am flexible, so don't let me lead this. I will follow what those with busier schedules at this time think is appropriate.
I'm in the same boat. I'm retired, so I'm very flexible. I like earlier. 4 o'clock is great for me.
I think they're waiting for the three of us. And I think it's the theme of the year. I think we've met at like 1 o'clock. We've met at I think it was like a warm-up period. And I will tell you that today, at least meeting at 5 was really refreshing. It's hard. Working and getting home and trying to eat and it was busy, but it was much better than the before. So if you guys are trying to warm us up, you did good showing us. Prefer later is always better for me, but I do understand that compromise and everyone's schedules are different. So I could go with 5. I really hope we don't ever go back to earlier. That was really, really, really hard. That would be my only caveat.
I guess that leaves me. I would have to say that option 2 is my favorite. It works for me. Now, that is a period in that sentence, me. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the way I have to look at it is being part of this board and this group means it's us and we. And so if me is impacting the we, then I would have to look at 5 p.m. Will it be difficult? Absolutely. But the joy of being on this board is that I have learned to adjust through difficult situations, times. And for someone who I used to tout, I'm very rigid. I have learned to become flexible. And so that is where I'm
But
landing.
is 5 doable, I guess is what we have to,
So I do think that now it is doable because I'm working remotely. When I return to the office, it could potentially be a challenge. I do think it's something that we are leaving it that we have the option to reevaluate should circumstances arise. And you know what? We had a great speaker for ESUSD, and he said that you can't think about the if, you have to think about the is. And right now in the moment where I am today and where we stand collectively, 5 p.m. appears to be the best option. And with that said, in life you have to learn to make personal sacrifices as a parent, as an employee, and as a team member. And most importantly, I am just that, a team member.
I was going to go with 6, but after that speech. No, in all fairness, 5 or 6 is the distinguishing amount of time between them. I think, in fairness to the cabinet, they put in a lot of hours. The principals and administrators that have to be here, the personnel, they put in a lot of hours. And I think, I know a school day may start for everybody at around 8 o'clock, but for most of these cabinet members, it's starting a couple hours earlier. And so keeping that in mind and the welfare of the board and timing and timeliness, I'm okay with 5 also as a start time. So,
and if 5 would be closed session.
yeah.
So I think we need to get out there that that's closed session. And that's what, in all honesty, I might need a little leeway because that's 5 o'clock is when my crew starts.
Yeah.
And so I might have to be on a phone call till 5:05 sometimes. So that's what my only concern is sometimes my supervisor has some last minute questions right at 5 on to-dos.
And I think, that closed session timing could give us that time to accommodate that without holding the public up also.
Yeah.
And meeting everybody else's needs. I can appreciate that too, because I have a lot of irons in the fire and running from practices or whatever it might be else and I know Naima has the same situation. We're involved in a lot of things in the community, so it does impact those things, so.
I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point is we can always come back to it.
Yeah, I think, sticking with where we are now with the 5 o'clock closed session,
Yeah.
the 6 o'clock open session does allow a lot of community members who might want to show up to end a work day and get here. And plus, the other thing I want to remind people of is that if community members can't get here by 6, we do offer the second public comment time later in the meeting. So they always have another chance to swing on over if they want to eat dinner first before they come. Of course, you never know when we're going to end. So, but we do have that. So I think that's a fair discussion. I think if we stick with 5 o'clock for now, we'll revisit it if it's particularly challenging for
Especially when Daima gets back in the office.
Yeah.
I think that's
we'll
commute
reevaluate
is
if needed.
commute.
So, all right, with that, we will say 5 o'clock closed and 6 o'clock regular. Option 1, that would be moving forward. So, all right, thank you, everyone. Our next item, we're into consent agenda time. So with that, I would like to ask if any items on the consent agenda need to be pulled so we can organize how we move forward.
Yes. And I
Yes.
apologize because of relationships with the individuals for approval, in 6B, 6C, I'll need to recuse myself.
Okay. Do we have any other polls for the consent agenda?
I was not at the last meeting, so I need to pull
Pull
myself
A.
from A.
Okay, so item A will be pulled. Any others? Okay, with that being said, I would like to
So would you like me to?
ask for a motion of,
Yeah. So
What's
could we have
left?
a motion for, well, if,
I think mine first.
First.
well,
yeah.
no, we could do 6D through 6K.
okay,
So if there's a motion.
I like this, a motion, yeah.
All right, Tracy, you gotta figure that one out. I believe Paulette moved, and Mike, you want to take the second on that? Okay.
Just to clarify, it was D through K?
D through K.
Thank you.
D,
Yes.
not A, B, or C. D through K. All right, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion on any of these items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's take one at a time. You don't need to recuse yourself, but you just need to be quiet. All
Right,
right?
right,
You
right.
remove yourself from that. So, is there a motion for item 6A? Okay. And a second? Naima? Yes? Okay. You can say it. I know, we gotta get our groove in person. I know, the thumbs up. We will get our groove. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the 6A. Any discussion on this item? Okay, Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board members, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 And I will abstain.
There's one abstention. On any opposed? That would be no, so the motion carries 4-0. Okay, Mike, I think if you would like to step out the back door, we'll let you in momentarily. I will not make Emily get up. I can get up and get the door. I promise. Okay. The door is closed. Is there a motion for items 6B and C? So moved. Okay. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion on the certificated and classified reports? Seeing
Nope.
none, we'll vote. Benny?
Aye.
And all those board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, the motion carries on 6B and C 4-0. And I'm going to open the door. Come on in. All right, we're back. Okay, that was not a very long break. All right, let's move. My iPad has gone asleep. One moment, please. Okay, moving into action items. 7A, acceptance of gifts. I believe that would be for you, Ms. Caudill.
In accordance with Board of Education policy number, just testing. In accordance with Board of Education policy number 3290, the Board of Education may accept gifts as long as there is no conflict with the Education Code or other public laws. The school district has received generous donations by Mu Phi Epsilon PV South Bay Chapter in the amount of $625 to be used at El Segundo Middle School. Box tops for education in the amount of $20.40 to be used at El Segundo Middle School. And lastly, Book Text Now LLC in the amount of $354.56 to be used at El Segundo Middle School. These donations do not conflict with any education code or public law regarding acceptance of gifts. I move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, grateful for the gifting to the middle school. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Board members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Item 7B is selection of a design option for the switchback ramp for the drop-off project at Center Street Elementary School. Dr. Moore, do you want to set that up?
Yes, Executive Director Dr. Dylan Ferris, as well as our bond program manager, Preeti D'Souza, are here to provide a brief presentation regarding the drop-off ramp and the various options related to this. I do appreciate that they have painted the schematic in front of the school and invited both the Facility Advisory Committee as well as the Center Street community. All the parents at Center were invited to weigh in on this. So we're very pleased to further expand our abilities to get the word out on what we're doing as it relates to Measure ES and efforts of transparency and certainly community engagement and feedback. So we're very grateful to those parents that participated. And we also have our representatives from PBK Architects here, Gilbert Baez and Oliver. So I will turn over to Dr. Ferris.
Thank you. So in this particular action item this evening, we're putting a decision before you, and so you are going to pick from one of two choices. So unlike your typical action items where you're just moving for approval, somebody will have to make a motion and then you select one of the options, and then we carry it through that way. Just a little bit of background on this project. This is in reference to the Measure ES Center Street School Drop-Off Project. Later on in the agenda, we have an information pending action item where we're presenting for your review and for the public's review the schematic design package that we've prepared over the last few months, and we'll speak a little bit more to that when we get to that item for this project. What we have before you now is one piece of that particular project because we need to give the architects specific direction on how to move forward with next steps. And what we're looking at specifically here is the front entryway right in front of Center Street Elementary School from Palm. And the priority for this project is really about safety and accessibility. And so in order to accomplish that, we are going to be making some improvements on that walkway that you see there in the image. We will have a stairwell as well as a switchback ramp, which is required for ADA accessibility. So anybody who's in a wheelchair, anybody who has trouble with stairs, we expect it will be used by people with strollers and students with their bicycles. And the reason that we have these two options that we're making you decide is because we have some differences of opinion over the course of the design process. And so the two options that are before us are one that we have labeled front and center, which is the option that we're leaning towards initially. It presents kind of more of a centralized location with stairs and then right next to it a switchback ramp. It keeps basically all of the improvements right where you see the current ramp, and it doesn't infringe on any of the rest of the facade. So the grass embankment that's along that front of that campus, we don't touch in this scenario. So this is one option. Some of the pros and cons of this are, again, it kind of has a nice central appearance. The cons are, people are concerned that it's going to be congested at times, that the switchback, because it's in a more condensed area, is maybe a little bit more challenging to navigate because you have 3 short ramps, as opposed to our next option, and then if you'll take me to the next slide, which is option 2, which we've labeled the meandering path. And in this scenario, we're separating the ADA ramp from the stairwell. The stairwell will be in place of where the current walkway is. So right where the existing walkway is, that'll be a few steps. But then to the north of the existing tree, there would be one long switchback. And the downside of this is we're going to be putting the switchback right on top of that grass embankment, which has kind of it's an attractive feature. But this is really picked up as we've polled people in popularity for something that may be a little bit more practical and has some benefits towards ease of use. As Chris Powell mentioned in his comments, and he was here to comment on this particular action item, but he couldn't stay. The Facility Advisory Committee, when polled, out of the 8 people who responded, not counting staff members because we didn't participate in the poll, 7 of the 8 are recommending this option. Dr. Monahan actually put this out to her families yesterday to see if we could get some quick feedback from them. As of this afternoon, we had 87 respondents. 61% favored option 2, 35% favored option 1, and the remaining folks didn't have a specific opinion on this. And the comments that we received were kind of in line with what we discussed. People concerned about too much congestion at certain parts of day, spreading it out makes it maybe a little bit easier to access. On the other side, there was some comments about if I'm walking in a group and then, my children want to go one way and I have to go the other way, they'd rather it be closer. So these were some of the things that were going back and forth. Ultimately, the majority of the feedback we're getting is suggesting option 2 as the preferred option. And so with that, we're turning this decision over to you. And I'll take any questions before I take a seat.
Good.
I went out there today and looked, and what I noticed was the big switchback. It is, how do you say it? There's quite a slope. Elevation, thank you. So there's quite an elevation. Is that going to be lowered, or is it going to be?
So, and I'll invite Oliver to comment if I don't say this quite right, but essentially what will happen in our design development process is they will use, there's a topographic survey, which is all the measurements of the grades, and use that to design a slope that meets the ADA code, right? So it'll be a slow, gradual grade, and the length that switchback has to be will be determined by what we need that slope to get to, right? How far do we need to go to get that slope? And that's why we have to do the switchbacks, so that we can keep the grade at a steady, even, low grade. And we get that grade in either option, by the way. It will meet the code in either one.
So that, what I saw painted on the grass might not be what it is?
Well, it won't be, the elevations won't look like that, because we're laying it on top of what's existing, but the measurements that you saw as far as the distance are about right.
Distance,
That's
yeah.
what we estimate before we've gone into great detail with the actual topographic data. Is that correct? Thank you.
So close.
Close. It's an estimate.
On this meandering path, and is there a way to prevent the skate and the bikes and all the other users that will find it appealing and using it for its unintended purpose?
So that's always a challenge for us, right? Obviously, we do want it to be something that wheels work on, right? So like that's the purpose of it, is so that it can be used for wheels, which does attract, skaters. So we will have to examine ways to, make it safe so that people are not picking up speed going down and zipping out onto the sidewalk or anything like that. But we'll have to look at it.
I got a call today on the marquee. Not that that matters, but just want to put it out there that people are curious. Do we have plans to relocate it, or?
Yeah, the marquee would come back. Depending on which option we choose, there may be a scenario where we can salvage or not touch the current marquee. So if I don't know if we go with option 2, the marquee may be able to stay as is. If we go with option 1, we will have to replace it.
Relocate it?
Relocate it, yes.
I think is the word people want to hear.
Not going to a pile of bricks, is that what I think I'm hearing? Okay.
All right, so in looking at this, the first thing that I think about is either option works, honestly, because what both options provide is increased visibility and increased safety. That's first and foremost. So we cannot choose a bad option. It's just more of a preference. Having had 3 kids at Center Street at the same time, I can tell you that the front and center works best for multiple kids, because it's the thing of one's on a skateboard, one's walking, and you're trying to kind of keep them all together. In my mind, trying to get everyone in the gate together works. However, most likely if you have 3, you have some that are independent enough to walk and the others that you can take the path. So honestly, I think either for me. I honestly think that the fact that we're here and we're,
That's why we have this on our agenda.
yeah, I know it's the reason why we have it, we can pick, but we can't go wrong is what I'm saying. It's just a preference thing. In choosing a preference, I like the front and center.
That's option 1.
That's option 1.
You know, I laughed when this came up in my current state. You know, I have been going to sporting events at the high school, and there is a switchback right there. And it is, and it's, I'll tell you, poor Scott is having to wheelchair me because I can't walk long distance yet. And he adamantly hates the switchbacks because by the time you get some speed, you have to stop, pivot, rotate, and then get going again. And so then I also reached out to a parent at Center Street that has a child in a wheelchair and asked her, and I have my phone out just to read a text. I asked her if I could, and she said, "The wide V is much, in capitals, better option. As a wheelchair pusher, I would hate those switchbacks so much that I would probably use them. I wouldn't use them and would just use the driveway every time to avoid the switchback." So, and after being in a wheelchair, I get it, you know, and so I went out and looked yesterday, and I much appreciate the visual. I thank whoever was out there with the paint. It helped me a lot. And so that's where, I'll tell you, and I think it's interesting that our facilities committee, you know, where they went. I just, after being in a wheelchair the last couple events, I appreciate one turn and speed slowdown.
So if I could share my perspective, because I do sit on the facilities committee at this time, so I hear the discussion and participate in the discussion. So I will say, coming out of the gate, from an aesthetic point of view and the proximity, I thought that the front and center was the way to go. But there was robust discussion, as obviously brings us here today. And so I actually asked a friend with a double wide stroller if she could meet me at the school on Sunday. And we took it on both of those paths. Now, granted, it was on grass, so that's a whole other thing. But the general experience was notably easier on the meandering path. And again, that's the widest thing I could think that might try to go up the front of our school, wider than a wheelchair, wider than a single stroller, wider than some skateboarder. So I am now in the camp of the meandering path based on that practical experience. And I think we can still make it look nice, and I think it'll be serviceable and lovely. And, you know, Center Street has a lot of ramps as it is, and they're not all beautiful. But I think we can make this a very nice front of the school, even with this unexpected extra bit of concrete happening, or whatever it is. Maybe it's not even concrete. Not for me to decide. So
ADA will decide.
I will say I'm with the meandering path crew at this point. So, do we have do we need an actual vote,
Engineering,
or-
you know, I am curious, engineering wise, Preeti can weigh in. I mean, is there a huge financial?
Yeah.
So I would say both options. The good thing about the project, it's under budget. So that's what I
Don't
love.
say that out loud.
Option 2, and this is what Oliver and I actually were just talking before the meeting. So the meandering path option, because of the extra development that we have to do, will be slightly more expensive. But I wouldn't use an estimate or designing as a basis to pick one option over the other at this point.
Well, as long as,
It's-
I guess I
yeah.
just want to make sure it's not.
Oh, no, it's not, yeah, it's not drastic enough to sway everybody's decision, yeah.
Okay.
Oliver, do you want to add to that?
No, I do.
From a design point of view?
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
From a design point of view, the meandering path will provide a more gradual approach to the campus. The front and center kind of defines the aesthetic, defines the facade of your campus. So that's kind of the reason why we presented the two options. The meandering path will kind of cut more of that grass area, but like you guys said, I think if that is a decision that's going to be made, it'll be up to us to beautify that area and make sure that it is appealing to the community and to everyone on the campus.
So I have a question. If we do the meandering path, will the stairs remain the same, or are we going to have to adjust those two because they're not appropriate or too high or whatnot?
I
Or
think
would they stay status quo?
No, I think we should revamp them.
Okay.
They look like they're a little bit worn down. In fact, we may even try to widen them a little
Okay.
bit. And right now, we're actually proposing a couple more benches in that area. So we would still touch that center pathway.
So there would still be something there in the center that would be more attractive perhaps and a little refreshed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's-
'Cause there is no step, I mean, there's just one step up right now, and then it's
One
a,
curve, yeah.
yeah.
So we would actually make some steps so that it's a proper pathway.
So it become more of a sloped walkway, not as steep,
Yeah,
right, with more steps.
correct.
All right. Any other thoughts from the board, or shall we see that we have? Oh, yes.
On the meandering path, so that's just conceptual, correct? So if, I know I was out there with Dr. Monahan today, and she was saying, well, could it be just slightly a little more curved, and could the end of it come out closer to where the crosswalk is, so that it would be a little bit more seamless in the transition? So I'm just giving some feedback as it relates to the design.
Sure, absolutely. So once we get the topographic survey, we'll be able to pinpoint the elevation change that's required. And it doesn't have to be a very symmetrical V. It could be a little bit more meandering. It could potentially go out even a little bit further if it makes sense. We may have to put a couple of retaining walls if it also makes sense. So I think after a decision is made and we move forward with one design, as we develop it, we'll probably have a couple more meetings to bring up our findings. And that way you get a more clearer picture of what it's actually going to look like.
Thank you.
I have a question to piggyback on that. If you were to do that, make it closer to the walkway, would that impact the tree?
So our intent in the meandering design is to maintain all the trees there, and that's why we kind of pull it away from it. I think the arborist said as long as we're
About
within
8 feet away
8
from
feet
the
away.
trees, we should be fine. Yeah.
So that is our main goal, to maintain the trees on the campus.
Okay. Any other questions or considerations, board members? All right. Do we have consensus on
I
one
think
of these?
we bring a motion,
Yes, I was going to ask for
so,
somebody to, yeah.
and let's see, we're calling it, let me get that,
Yeah. it's-
Option 2?
And I appreciate, and I didn't mention Chris, leading that committee and even taking the time to come tonight to report on that committee. I think that was great. So I will move that we approve, I'm just gonna call it the meandering, as option
Option 2.
2 for the Center Street
Drop off.
drop-off redesign.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And
Thank
now
you.
we can properly discuss.
Yes, any further discussion at this time? Now we've asked our questions and, okay, what do you think,
I
Ben?
think Naima summed it up pretty good.
No, I mean, again, for me, I felt like either option worked. So it sounds like this is the one that we're leaning towards. I'm fine with either. Again, it's all about the safety and the visibility to get the kids across safely. And so having your perspective of being in a wheelchair is something that I was not familiar with, that makes
It's a
more
whole
sense.
new perspective.
And yours as well. Fortunately, I never had a double stroller. They were spaced out enough now to understand that as well. We have to be able to meet the needs of our community. And if this is something sounding from the options that were presented, then this is what we have to do, and I'm fine with voting for this.
Well, and that's, for me, when Heather told me she would probably just skip the one, I thought, why would we build that? And so for me that was a big all right, because I was leaning away, and when that came from her, that I would skip it and park up top every time, that was just, I don't want to build something that our ADA community would just rather not even go near.
Absolutely, absolutely. Benny, did you have any input on this, or?
Oh, yeah, I just think option 2 would be much better. I think it,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. All right, if no further discussion, we'll make an official vote now. So Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Board members, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Option 2, 5-0. Thank you, everybody.
I really appreciate the time
Yeah.
on these things, and the extra effort. I know it's extra, getting out and painting. I really appreciate
Yes,
you guys.
Thanks to
And I
staff
appreciate the
and-
trash enclosure.
We'll talk about that later. Okay, next on the agenda tonight is item 7C, approval of expanded learning opportunities grant plan. Dr. Moore?
Yes, on or before June 1st, we are required to have the governing board take a look at this plan and adopt it. We do have 2 experts this evening here. We have Marisa Janicek, our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services, who handled the content side, and then certainly we have the budgetary side that was handled by Kimberly Lenz, our Chief Business Official. So I recommend approval. There's been a lot of hard work put into this plan, and we are excited about the opportunities it will provide our students.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
No,
Paulette, yes, and a second?
I'll second.
Second for Mike. Is there discussion on this item? Questions for staff? No? I enjoyed reading it. And appreciate what you do all the more when I read reports like this and plans like this, because, you know, it takes a lot of really intricate thought, and again, with all the funding moving around here and there and this fund and that, I mean, it makes me appreciate you all the more every time I see a plan like this, so thank you.
And you know, when I read it, a lot of the things are things that we've been doing, and it is just a part of what we call education in El Segundo. You know, so I am thankful, but I think any opportunities we have for grants and to fund things that we're already doing, and which frees up monies for other things is important. And I thank you in this busy time of taking the time to write this long document. Thank you.
Okay,
The
All
Sorry, just the purpose of it too, in serving students in that supplemental, what we call supports at this time, that they're really gonna need, is just amazing to be able to have that for them. And so, you know, it comes with all these strings and these hoops to jump through, and so thank you guys very much for putting in all the effort and the reports to make sure that our district is able to have these kind of funds to support this. So thank you guys.
okay. With that, I think we'll move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 7D, I believe we must ask Member Wagner to step out again to recuse himself, because there's part of this with a name very similar to his. So we'll hold till he exits. Don't go too far. Okay, item 7D is approval to renew agreement with Alder University and agreements with Alder teacher residents for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Moore?
Yes, I'm very enthusiastic about this program. This is our second year. We are very grateful to the board for supporting this innovative program to allow for our teachers and future teachers to work together on behalf of our students. So at a board meeting earlier in the spring, we were able to feature our master teachers and our participating teachers, both Shannon Murphy and Tyrus Beckwith. And what wonderful examples of being able to invest in someone further and allow them to take the next step in their career and give back through service as a teacher in our district. So we bring two fantastic candidates to you this evening, and the agreement you would be approving would be for the resident teachers, the mentor teachers, the cost for participation in the program. And based on your approval, I would move forward with signing the MOU to renew their agreement. I recommend approval.
I'll move approval of action item D.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
How soon would they be getting started on this?
I think it starts July 1st.
Pretty quick?
Go to the mic, please.
So they would be engaging in summer work with Alder University, which is part of their enrollment process, but they would be starting in our classrooms working with us right at the beginning of the school year.
That's why I was wondering how fast that. Okay. No, I think, and the presentation we had last night, it was great. And even to hear from our current staff on how Alder, was in their classroom and affected their teaching, I thought that was such a win.
Our teachers and our staff were so enthusiastic about these teacher candidates. They were like, we've got to grab these people right now. They are so amazing, doing a great job. So it's been a win-win for everyone involved, and certainly our students.
Yes, and I have to add that, even if the candidates that are homegrown adds a whole other level of institutional knowledge that not anybody will have, coming in to apply from anywhere in the greater California or other area. I think knowing that we have people that are experienced and highly motivated to stay here and be here is extra value on top of that. So I'm excited that there are two wonderful candidates to bring forward as well. So,
Did we have many apply? Just curious what the word, is this gaining steam, or is this still a new?
Recruitment still continues to be a challenge. We probably had about 10 candidates that were specifically applying for El Segundo Unified School District, which I think we're hoping that we'll be able to get more people interested. I think it's kind of a tall order, this particular program, to be able to commit to for a year. You have to commit to not working. It's a major commitment. So I think.
But we had 10?
We did.
That seems like a lot to me.
I'm pleased to hear we had 10.
That's what
that
it
sounds
was not just two
more
for two.
robust. Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. Let's move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote?
Strong aye.
Excellent. Board members, those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed?
Sorry, I just think maybe he has to recuse himself.
We got it.
And jokingly, because it's not a voting way, but
No. I'm like, what?
I'm sure there's some relation.
All right. The motion carries 4-0. We will now invite, actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tag Mike in for the next item because I must recuse myself from item 7E to save in time. I'm going to turn off, send him in, and then you guys can come get me. Thank you. Vice President Lane, you'll run
I got
this.
it.
Okay.
This worked out well.
I'm telling you, in my 8 years, this is a first. This is a first that we are so tag teaming. Dr. Moore, you want to introduce item E, the representative to the City of El Segundo Environmental Committee? This is a new thing.
This is a first as far as actually bringing the candidate forward to the board. This is my 7th year in El Segundo. Every year prior to this year, it would be shake the tree, trying to find someone to serve our district as a representative to the environmental committee with the City of El Segundo. The city only allows one representative for our school district. It has typically been a parent who has been involved in environmental efforts, primarily at our elementary schools, such as Grades of Green, parents, people who believe in the garden projects and things that have been going on in our schools. And we've had wonderful service with many, many individuals who served in that capacity. It is a 1-year term, And this year, around Earth Day, I put out an open invitation to anyone because we had completed the term of another member of our community. And I had more than 8 people indicate an interest, which I think really speaks to the fact that environmental issues are really a concern of our community. And you see our community being active in that area. So from the 8, we said this is when the committee meets based from the city's schedule. How many of the 8 can move on? And from that, we got 4. So I put together some interview questions in collaboration with our board president, and we interviewed those 4 people, all outstanding candidates. All had their own gifts and commitment to the environment and passion for this. But we can only have one, and we have encouraged our other candidates to get involved. We're also looking to hopefully, through our PTAs, involve more people and have maybe a committee chair at each PTA that could serve as an environmental lead. And so we can further infuse the board's commitment to environmental causes and awareness on behalf of our youth. So I very enthusiastically bring forward Janet Miller. She is a parent community representative whose child attends Center Street School, and she has been actively involved in the Grades of Green program. She also brings an extensive marketing background, and although she is not science, initially I thought, oh, maybe we need science background. Well, they have some science background on the committee, but it's also getting out the good word about what you're doing. So she had a marketing background, and we found that very valuable in providing really extensive, thoughtful feedback on where we can go and getting the word out and spreading the good news as it relates to environmental issues. So because of the multiple people involved, I felt the appointment was the time to bring to the board for your approval and
Great.
appointment.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Anybody have discussion, thoughts, comments, concerns?
I'm sorry, Tracy has a,
Paulette. Mike first, Paulette was our second, and no discussion, comments. Mr. Villa?
Aye.
And the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none? Thank you.
Hey, I'm getting more steps in this board meeting than I have in years. This is great. Okay, let me restart this. Okay. Next on our agenda this evening is, hang on. I
Item
must
F.
Scroll, yes, I did scroll. Item F is approval of new certificated job description, intervention teacher. Dr. Moore?
yes, this new position is being brought to you. That would be positions to assist with learning loss during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're really still gauging our needs, so it could be 2 to 3 teachers for this next school year, and this would be funded by restricted funding through AB 86.
Okay,
I'll move approval.
okay, second from Paulette. Any discussion on this item?
I'm excited. I
Yes,
think
I'm
it's
sorry.
going to
Yes.
be needed. When it says 2 to 3, does that something that's, you don't need us anymore after this vote? Or,
No.
and
Okay.
I'm sure it's probably going to be 3 after this year and however many months of just craziness. So I think as a board, we've talked a lot about what the next year is going to look like and what the needs are going to be had. And it's exciting to me to see some thought already going into next year for our students. So I'm happy to see us planning ahead for what's coming.
Well, I'm happy to see some funding coming here. That is unexpected. We have had, I don't want to call it a windfall, but there's been some special opportunities that I did not see coming. So I'm grateful that you're maximizing these wherever we can to support our students, because why not? And the better we will be for it. So, okay. Any other discussion? All right, let's move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Okay, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item G is approval of a new job description, College and Career Guidance Specialist.
This is a classified position that would serve as support in the Career Center at the high school. With the retirement of one of our certificated staff, the educational advisor position, we worked with the high school to reevaluate what were the needs. And in speaking to Dr. Gooden and the staff, we felt that this would be a good way to go. And we're hoping that this person could really help with securing more internships for our students as well.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval? Okay. And a second? Second. All right. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
I think it's important that this is a position we've had. It's just a kind of a restructuring kind of, I don't want anyone in the community thinking we're creating jobs and things. I think the Career Center is valuable, and especially, hearing that it came, from the site of how they want this position. I think that is important.
Yeah, being on the SCROC board, alternatives to the traditional educational path are really important for our students. Just recently I saw an email that the district put out for SCROC at the high school for the students there. There's so many different ways that kids can build careers after high school. And, with the push in that traditional educational format to go to college, I think there's some time there that we can spend with kids that maybe don't want to pursue that, but we can get them in line with a great career. And having this person there and advocating for those kind of things and the knowledge that's needed to get those kids started in those career paths is really important, especially today. I think there's so many, technical and, technical and outright, working, in that field in construction and service industries and everything right now. That's so needed. And they're valuable careers. And so, hopefully that's an emphasis this person will have.
But even just learning to write a resume, there's just so many to whatever field or wherever you go, and just bringing to light options. And, they do like the aptitude tests that, just things that all my kids have come home and like, Benny's shaking his head and like, I never even thought about that. It's such a good way to get kids to see the world instead of funneled how sometimes we get. So
And there's so many opportunities out there that are non-traditional in that sense that, young people can make a good living at.
I'd love to hear, Benny, if you have any thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, the College and Career Center is extremely helpful for so many students. They're also really helpful when it came to working Naviance when we were starting to make some changes last year. I think we definitely got to put this because it just affects so many people at the high school.
Great. Thank you. It's good to hear. Okay. If no further discussion, we'll vote. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 7H is approval of a new job description, Intensive Behavior Interventionist. I've added a.
Yes, the board supported moving forward with this position at our board workshop that was held in February. This specific position is instructional support that would focus on behavior interventions for our students with special needs. So it would really be working with our staff when they are dealing with challenges and students that need additional supports in this area. So it's very needed, and I definitely support this action.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? I think we all agree. The more we can support this community, that's grateful for the opportunity to do it. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
And I really like, I think it helps our teachers also. I
Yes.
think this district is amazing with the blended model, and and having students, and we ask a lot of our teachers in doing that. So the more support we can give them in that, I think it's healthy for all. So I'm excited that we have funds and are able to do some of these things. Is this a restricted grant? Is this out of our general? Is this?
This is out of special education funding.
Great.
All right, next item on our agenda is approval to enter into an agreement with Apple Inc. using a piggyback contract with Glendale Unified School District.
Well, the time has come to replace the iPads, and boy, they've gotten good wear this year. So anyway, I applaud our CBO because we do have special funding that can go expressly for this purpose. So the timing is right. The devices need a refresh, and so I recommend approval for our 6th through 12th grade students.
Okay, a motion for approval?
Motion?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on this item?
It's time.
Time. Okay.
It's been a while. I mean, I remember when it first came years ago, and then I think we've done one since. I feel like, Danny, like one a small, like at the middle school, some iPad refresh. But these have been lasting a while.
Yeah, have you had the same one, Benny, for your time?
Yeah, I think I got one relatively soon, like a new one, and then I've had the same one for years now, and it's definitely,
Getting tired?
yeah, everyone's iPad cases themselves are falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been about 4 years now,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay,
Okay.
well, great. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item J, approval to enter an agreement with Converge One using a piggyback contract with the National Association of State Procurement Officials for the purchase of Dell Chromebooks.
So our Chromebooks have gotten work out this year too, and we are so thankful that these were made possible by an initial investment from Chevron. So we were ahead of the game when school closure came and had these devices already. Granted, we didn't have the kids taking them home, but we quickly shifted and took care of that. But it's already been 3 years, and it is time once again to revisit this. This would be with both restricted funds and the Chevron grant. So it would be another refresh for our 3rd through 5th grade students.
Motion for approval? And second from Daima, yes? Oh. You could say it now. I know, we're retraining, it's okay. Any? Yes. Any discussion on this item? Also, it's time. Okay, yes. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 7K is ratification of agreement with CDW government through a piggyback agreement with the National Association of State Procurement Officers for Chromebooks.
Yes, following our school closure, we were working diligently to place an order for additional Chromebooks for our TK through 2nd grade students. It was touch and go there with shortages across the board. I'm pleased to say that we did receive all of the devices. However, they kind of trickled in here and there. So at the time, this contract was approved through the purchase order process by the board in August. In the spirit of transparency and for the adherence to internal audit measures, we bring this forward for ratification this evening as well, just as a precaution. The devices all came in little small pieces, and so that's why it didn't ever trigger the item. Plus, we almost went back and forth, Best Buy, here, there, right? Danny, every day was an update from Danny for a while. So, but we're very happy that we secured these, and the students were all issued new devices.
Okay,
I'll move approval.
okay. Any discussion on this item? Sounds like it was as tricky as getting the latest Xbox or a PlayStation.
Yes.
But we're glad that you worked hard to get them here, so thank you. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
And board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item L is approval to enter into a piggyback agreement with NIC, is that NIC? Yes, NIC Partners, Inc. through the California Multiple Award Schedule for purchase and installation of exterior wireless access points.
Yes, as we installed various tents across the campuses, we wanted to be sure that if students sat with their teachers under the tent, they would be able to use their device without a problem. And Danny Gauna and the tech team saw this need right away, and this is a great expenditure to allow more flexibility in learning for our students. I recommend approval.
I'll move approval.
Okay, any discussion on this item?
You know, as we go through all these, Danny tech team, and it's fun. They're actually here tonight.
Wow.
Might not be fun for them, but I really, as I have watched other districts and navigate the start of this, and they pretty much just sent their kids home because they didn't know what to do with them, and they weren't, it was not seamless, but I could say our kids were still learning and checking in with teachers on a daily basis and things. I thank you. This is a daunting task, but I think the work we did before really prepared us for a pandemic, unfortunately. But as I see these wireless things, it's that. I think you guys do an amazing job. Just keep thinking and helping, because who knows if we're kids, we get a spike and we have to be outdoors more and things, and being prepared for those things. I think this community doesn't know what how hard work you guys are doing in that field, and so thank you. And I am very excited when I see us doing these things to keep it moving.
Yes, here. You guys have been the lifeline for all of this coming forward, so thank you for still going with it, apparently. So, okay. Go ahead, Naima.
I have to say, the lifeline indeed. It's interesting now that we are back in school, we can look back at some of these things and we finally have the ability to laugh. But I think back when we were going through it and my child sent me an email and said, oh, we're going to be out of school. This was March 13th of 2020. She said, oh, we're going to be out of school until spring break. Oh, no, for 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. And then I received another email to say she'll be out until spring break. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just tried to wrap my head around that. And then I spoke with a friend who said their school wasn't able to figure it out and they were out through the end of the school year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm incredibly grateful. And not that you have to look at someone else's plate to realize how grateful you are, but I sit in front of you today and I express my gratitude for getting us through this pandemic. It's something that we all weren't prepared for and we didn't anticipate, but you had been preparing us along the way, and that's why we were able to send our kids home with machines, or their assets, right when it was time, right when the pandemic hit, or right when we were released on the 13th. And even for the elementary students that need to come back and collect, you were prepared and there was something structured. And I appreciate that. So thank you.
I want to say thank you because, when I started out as a young administrator, I remember a superintendent telling me, Mike, you have to stop using the fax machine and start emailing me. It's common practice. And true story, I didn't want to let go of my fax machine. But the truth is that it has become essential to our lines of communication, education. And, as an educator, I didn't really believe in it at first. I really thought, we're going backwards with the iPads and, but it's such the platform, and without you guys, your support, and providing all this for us, and if you look at our boardroom tonight,
That's what I was just looking around.
yeah, our ability to have the public get onto that YouTube channel, we live in a digital world, and without you guys, it's not possible. The safety and security of the school, its infrastructure, and all those, without without any reserve, it's the lifeline of what we're doing now. And so I'm extremely grateful for you guys. and all the work that you're putting in to make sure that all of our students, and I think we take it for granted now. And so just a commendation on that, you know, that I think our parents out there that are watching and our students, you know, how reliant are you on it, Benny, every day? Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't seen a college application in paper, you know, and so the ability to be able to do this kind of stuff is amazing. So thank you guys very much.
I'd like to first thank my team. My team did a great job in regards to getting the devices out for not just the staff, but also for the students, and also the supporting the students remotely, on premise, and also with the parents. So again, thank you to my staff, team. So thank you.
Well, with all that gratitude, let's move forward into voting. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
And board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for all that. Okay, our last action item is item M, approval of contract change order 5 to the agreement with AMG and Associates Incorporated for the 2002 summer modernization projects.
I have nothing else to add.
It is what it is.
We've seen this in many reports. Okay, do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
A second from Daima. Okay, any discussion? Yes, we've talked about these a lot. So let's move into voting. Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Board members, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Now on to information pending action. Item A, schematic design drawing package for Center Street Elementary School drop-off project.
Yes, I'd like to call forward Dr. Dylan Ferris to talk about this item just briefly. We're shifting practice a little bit, once again, continuing to try to have an air of transparency. And so moving forward, we would like to have a two-step process where we bring these items. And Dr. Ferris, if you could just talk a little bit about what our practice will be moving forward, that would be helpful.
Sure. So essentially, we will be coming to the board for each individual project with an information pending action, followed by an action item at the following meeting for every stage in the design development process for every project. We'll be making sure that everybody sees the design decisions that are being made, particularly when big changes are made to a particular project. Additionally, anytime there are cost changes or budget implications where we're changing a budget, we're going to make sure that that comes through in an information pending action so the public has time to see the changes that we're proposing and that we have a very clear record that the board has authorized those changes. Up until now, we're very confident. The board that has been very well aware of everything that we've been doing, but this is a matter of making sure the public has that record that they can refer to. And so, in the spirit of that, what you have before you this evening as an information pending action item is the Center Street drop-off project that we talked about earlier. And what you're looking at in this attachment that you'll be reviewing before we take action at the next board meeting is the schematic design package. And what that means is we've spent several months working with stakeholders, working with the architects, trying to figure out what it is that we actually want to design. So we haven't designed it, right? All of the, the calculations and all of those things have not been factored in. That time has not put in yet. We're in schematic, which means we're trying to figure out all the features that we want this to have, what the end goal is intended to be. When the board approves this, we'll move into design development phase, and that's when the architects will really get into the nitty-gritty and do all of the hard calculations. And once we get into that phase, it's much harder to change direction. It's a lot more work to change direction. So I just wanted to highlight a few things that's in the design package or the schematic design package, and this is probably most easily referenced on page 11 of the attachment that you have, which is what we have up on the screen here. These are all intended to be improvements to the front drop-off area. We commonly call it the horseshoe in front of Center Street Elementary School. Our primary purpose of this project is to improve safety and to improve accessibility. Those are the two primary things. We also wanted to improve parking, We really could not, in all of our efforts to date, achieve all three of those things. We had to prioritize, and so we prioritized safety and accessibility. And so I'll just go over a few features. One of the things that our project is going to get us is a widening of the horseshoe. Everything will ultimately be regraded, which is a lot of soils work. So everything essentially gets ripped out, re-leveled appropriately for proper grades, and put back together. We'll have accessible path of travel from every direction. So we currently have accessible path of travel coming from the Mariposa side. We don't have it coming from the Oak side or from Palm. We have a steady stream of pedestrian traffic coming from all three of those angles, right? So it's not one or the other. We spent a lot of time thinking about, could we just cut off that path of travel from Palm so we didn't have people walking across that horseshoe? Ultimately, we decided that would probably create a lot of people doing what your friend mentioned, which is, well, I'm just going to cut across over here then. So we did not want to abandon that crosswalk there, which is what led us to all of the work on, we have to improve that front crosswalk. What we did do, because we're embracing the fact that that's just going to be a point of crossing, is we implemented a speed table. And so what this is it's a crosswalk that's elevated. So it's almost like a sidewalk that goes across that horseshoe that cars would ultimately have to drive over. We also will be eliminating some parking spaces so that there's better visibility. Anywhere a car is coming up and there's going to be somebody walking across that crosswalk, they'll have increased visibility there. There will be improved sidewalks, not only on the northern perimeter of that horseshoe, I'm sorry, it's the eastern side, but we'll be adding a sidewalk. So currently, on the western edge of the horseshoe, there's no sidewalk. It goes right to the grass. So there'll be a sidewalk on both sides of the horseshoe. We do get a more truly meandering path. If you could see, is your mouse, can you move your mouse on it? Right up to where the little squiggly line is. It looks like a wavy bird and the half moon. All right, so that's like a bench and waiting area, and right behind it is another added sidewalk that gets us that ADA path of travel. Currently, we also have, it's really a cargo unloading area that is being used for parking. It is not to code, and so we will be treating that area and bringing up to code. It will be a true parking area, and it will have some, obviously, aesthetic improvements, but also some ADA parking, some true ADA parking with true ADA path of travel. Of course, all of this is going to be done with an eye for making it look good, and so this is what we're pitching to you. We hope you'll take a look at this in the package. Please do communicate with me if you have questions or concerns, or if we're going to make a change to this, like now's the time to make that change. These have been reviewed repeatedly by stakeholder groups. It's been reviewed by the Facility Advisory Committee, so it's been well reviewed. But if you have any concerns, questions, or issues, definitely get those back to me. And we will be incorporating your decision from earlier this evening on that front pathway.
So Dylan, just for clarification to the board, just as we do with board policies, administrative regulations, in information pending action, you would need the board's feedback, questions, concerns, I like this, whatever it might be, within the week, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just want to be sure that everybody understands what would be helpful to us in order to continue to move this project forward. Time is money, and so we don't want to have anything fall
Well,
behind.
and that's what I like the concept of bringing it more here, and no one can say they have an opportunity, but my biggest concern is keeping things going, and poor Preeti is involving more opinions and things, but I think it's important, especially I'm worried in the summer months when we're not meeting a lot, how that's gonna look. So that's just something I think for us to think, because we can't hold up the construction timetable. And
Special meeting, anyone?
if that's what it means to keep this going, or I don't know, but I want to be mindful that time really is money right now. It's actually coming down right now, but let's not, it's starting, but it was really about a month ago, but who knows what's gonna happen next or what, and, I like the transparency, but I don't think the community knows. I mean, every Friday, the board gets an update with an extensive list, from Preety of what's going on and where we're at, so I think we already do have a lot of that. The more we can do, always great, but we do have to be mindful of schedules and timelines.
I'm curious.
Your mic.
We keep talking about needing more parking, and have we ever considered moving this parking lot more towards the school, because that's all grass? You know, pushing it that way?
So,
Just curious.
yes, we have considered that. The drawback on that is there's an elevation change, so it would be like creating a second parking lot right next to it. So we actually at one point did have a design incorporated into that. That was not pursued really because of the dramatic impact it has on the aesthetic of the school, and really the flow of one parking lot not really being able to flow into the next parking lot just made it a little disjointed.
I don't know if there's a wall on that
Yeah.
side, and so the grade made it to where it was not functional. We looked at that way back at the beginning.
Well, the only reason I'm wondering is because we're grading all the other front, so maybe that was possible to just include that as a grade.
I think it's more of like a smoothing that we're gonna do right now.
Right, that's right.
That's why I was just curious. I figured there was an answer, but.
Yeah, we looked at making the whole front a parking lot, and I think we are trying to balance between maintaining that beautiful aesthetic of having the grass and the trees and the beautiful brick, and not overpowering it with, paving paradise.
And, I'll be the one to say it. When we looked at it, we do have enough parking. Staff-wise, parent-wise, it gets a little hard, but that lot is open in the morning. People don't like to walk as far. And really what we were going for was cleaning up the congestion and making it safer. Because it's a small sidewalk, and then when all the kids and parents and strollers, so I think, seeing the larger sidewalks and different access points, I think it could alleviate that.
Yeah, the front of the school, again, Center Street overall has a lot of flow challenges, and I think anything we can do to create smoother, safer transportation opportunities, and also encourage people to walk. A lot of our residents are very close to the school, so, again, we'll revisit that, but that's not for tonight. So thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
And we'll study that and give you notes this week if we have any notes and questions. Okay, thank you. All right. Our next item is item B, consideration of the ESMS summer reading list.
Yes, I'd like to invite Marisa Janicek, Assistant Superintendent, to speak on both information pending items for B and C, our summer reading list, because these are always popular items and important to our community. We've got some exciting changes for the middle school, though. Ms. Janicek.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Actually, I'm really excited to announce that the El Segundo Middle School is really shifting their lens for this next school year, summer reading. They came together, the English department, with their summer reading committee and said, we really want to encourage lifelong readers. We really want them to be encouraged to take their voice and choice and choose their own books this summer. First time we've seen them do it, and it's really heartwarming. So, trying to think what else. 8th grade summer reading will be incorporated into the learning loss summer, so that students have some support in that. And the resources on the link you can see is wonderful books and lists that they can choose from if they don't have one in mind already. And I really want to represent this well. They put a lot of time into it. I do want to mention that all of them will have their Lexile level before leaving so that the students know their reading level, and their parents do also, so they can make a choice at their reading level. So it's really exciting. I'm thrilled that they came up with this choice. Every year we look at the lists and people have to choose, and now they don't have to. So really proud of our middle school. This will be coming back at the June 8th meeting for approval. And again, if you have any questions, concerns, please email me ahead of time.
And any highlights on the high school? It was pretty well the same list as
Oh, yeah,
in the past.
Yeah, the high school list is continuing. The list has not changed at all from last year. It worked really well with their classes and their content, and they continue their partnership with the El Segundo City. So really great all the way around with both schools. Very excited about it.
So we have nothing else to add.
Okay.
We'll come back to you at the next
Great.
meeting.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Janicek. All right, that leads us to report time, but we'll start with the informational calendar.
Yes, next Monday, we have Memorial Day, and so there'll be no school. Then we'll be heading into the last 2 weeks on graduations and promotion week. The week of June 7th, we start off with Arena High School at Library Park at 6 p.m., and we hope all board members can be in attendance. We have a board meeting on the 8th. We have Center and Richmond promotions on the 9th, and the board has been provided those dates as well. And in keeping with past practice, we hope that the board representative for that school is present, but any member is welcome to attend as well, but it is not required. Then the 10th, we have the middle school promotion, and they will be divided into two. We have a 2 o'clock and a 5:30, and once again, we hope the board could attend both of those. And then lastly, we culminate with the high school graduation on the field on the 11th. I do want to mention, as it relates to the graduations, that there will be no handshaking. No handshaking in keeping with the health order. However, what you can do is pass the booklet or the diploma cover to the student, and the student can take it.
Got it.
So,
So we still will go down
right.
to the other.
And then we've worked out with principals today that for the outdoor ceremony, the speakers who go to the podium do not have to wear their mask because they are outdoors speaking at the podium. Then they'll put their mask back on. And then when the students go to walk across the stage, because there will be a photographer at the end, they will be walking alone outside, and it will be the student's choice, the family's choice. The student does not have to wear the mask if they can make that choice. So when the students come down the high school and walk through the arch, they don't have to wear their mask, and then they can get their diploma cover from the board members still as planned at the high school. And if a parent hugs their child, that's okay.
I was
Nobody will
wondering,
say
I'm just
anything.
saying
You're
there
in the
might be
same
an
household.
exception.
It's safe.
Same household, I think, would be okay.
Okay, just warning you guys.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Exciting, exciting month coming up. All right, now board member report time. So, Mr. Wagner, let's start with you.
Well, first off, I'd just like to say thank you to Dr. Moore and the district cabinet. I'm facing something as a youth coach out in the larger Los Angeles community, and LAUSD has not opened their fields for Beyond the Bell and their after-school programs or for youth athletics. And it's going to hurt and impact a lot of communities that need these kind of organizations to exist, and they're impacting those organizations. And so to be able to be a part of this district that is opened our fields to our youth, you know, as I was walking outside right now to, you know, during one of the votes, you know, our Little League is out there on the field. There's soccer teams out there. There's kids running on the track. And, you know, those are youth children that need these facilities. And so I'm very grateful because it is going to have a huge impact on the larger city and on schools to maintain their athletic programming. And so it's with a grateful thank you that I want to bring it up to the community, that this district has made that commitment to those groups in our community, and I'm very grateful. So thank you for that. A couple of items, as we heard, in regards to we're going to have a graduation at the high school. So awesome. I'm really glad for the seniors and for the students there that they'll have that. I know it was very difficult for the seniors last year that didn't have one, or a partial one, and so this will be a really great opportunity to bring this back for them. So, and I know it's going to take a lot of preparation from Dr. Gooden and Mr. Vlantes, but it's in capable hands, and I know they'll do an amazing job doing that. So thank you. And then the last group that I represent is SCROC, and so over the last former board member Nancy Cobb is now on the board with me, and the advocacy for this group, SCROC right now is at a critical point. Without the funding from federal or state, the JPAs that are involved are keeping it afloat. And El Segundo's commitment to SCROC is a big factor in them being viable. And so in discussing with the board there, the offerings they are making to students in vocational education is just amazing. They opened up a new electrical program for electrician certifications. And so I'm very proud that we are part of it, that we are continuing our support for it. And I would urge families that maybe, even if they're, I'm going to El Camino to finish up to get into college, great. Look at these vocational opportunities, because there is a lot of need for these types of jobs and careers. So on that note. And then I'd like to say thank you to the cabinet. As we're winding down, you guys are, and I think people take this for granted as their children aren't in school, but you guys will be here working all summer and continuing to put in the long days so that it's prepared. And so thank you for that commitment, because as a teacher, I'm going to take a couple months off. Try to recharge, but you guys can't. And so I think people don't understand that you have made that commitment to be here and provide those services and get the schools ready for us as we return. So thank you for your commitment, everyone. And to the board, it's been a great year so far, so let's keep it going. I know we got a couple of more, but, we're having some great discussions, and we're moving forward. And Dr. Moore, thank you for your leadership on these things.
Thank you so very much. So I do want to remind everyone that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And although the month is coming to an end, I would like you to take a moment at your leisure and visit the district website. Specifically, I want you to go to the department tab and look under Student Support Services, because although we highlight this month, it is something that is done by our district all year long. And I want to bring it to the attention of everyone, especially during this month. I want to move on to Center Street. We have the 5th grade promotion on Wednesday, May 9th. Quick items to review. You must RSVP to attend the promotion. Tickets are non-transferable. That is for contact tracing purposes. There are 4 tickets per family, not per child. So if you have twins, you still get 4 tickets. You must wear your mask all times while on campus. That is not directed by ESUSD, but that is a health order, and so we must follow that because we are on campus. That is, unless you are at the mic speaking outside, which was disclosed earlier or discussed earlier. There are 2 different ceremonies, and that's broken down by teacher. Each one's 30 minutes. I would say go to the Center Street website, or just shortly at 9 o'clock is Leonard and G. Lee and Pamfield, and then 11:30 is Heck and S. Lee. So just so that you have that, and it's going to be held on the kindergarten/1st grade playground. quick updates about the construction projects. We talked about the drop-off and drive-through for Center Street, and tonight we discussed the meandering path. The library upgrade is still in progress, so we're excited about that. And the chain link fence is set to begin June 14th, and that's when the kids are out of school, so that's even better to start that. Moving on to the El Segundo Council PTA. Their next meeting is May 21st. Am I right about that? No, I missed that. That's not, excuse me, is it June? Oh, I'm a month off. It's June 21st. It's my, so we have that. It's at 6 p.m. But what I really want to talk about for them is the Jump for Education event, which ends on Monday, May 31st. Couple of highlights. They have 857 registered participants. They recognize a profit so far of $40,000, of which $27,000 came from sponsors. I really want to say thank you to the sponsors for really helping out, especially during this time. T-shirt pickups will be scheduled for the week of June 3rd through the 5th in the Center Street parking lot. They are looking for volunteers. I ask you to go to the Facebook page for the El Segundo Run for Education, even though we're having the jump, but that's the official name. And you'll find more details of how to volunteer. Speaking of going back to the original name, I want you to remember this. I want you to put into your mind 30 for 30, and that's the 30th anniversary. The 30th anniversary of the Run for Education will be held on April 30th, 2022. It will be live, so we will be able to join together. Keep your fingers crossed, but 30 for 30 is what we are banking on. And that is it for my updates today. Thank you.
I have to say, I do not miss my chair at home. This is so comfy, but it's taken me all meeting to figure out, I think I'm in a hole. I think I need some tech support. I'm sure it scoots up. Anyway, I went to the 4.0 high school event yesterday, and that was, really special. I was surprised that it was just really special. Usually it's a breakfast, I believe, and all the kids, I think they said there was 78 of them, 4.0 or better, and very nice. And they had a video that they did where all the teachers said goodbye to each student, and it was very special. Also, the middle school, Cheryl Smith, the PTSA president, wanted me to make a couple of announcements that they're looking forward to their in-person 8th grade graduation ceremony on June 10th. And the middle school PTSA are working together to honor our 8th graders with special events leading up to promotion and making promotion a very special day. Also, our first 8th grade activity day was yesterday. The 8th graders got together for food and fun, and we are grateful for all the help from our parent volunteers and the support from our teachers and staff. It was a great day. And that's my report.
All right, well, as I've said, it's kind of odd to be back in this room. I think you just kind of get used to that Zoom, and I have forgotten how long it's been. It feels like we were just here, but not here, and I wanted the room looks amazing. I think hopefully Arena gets to use this, and it reaches more than just us. I think it's well done, and just in time again, for the needs of what we needed to go for this. So thank you for everyone for that. I want to thank our staff, our teachers, our classified, our cabinet again. I know it was hard, and people thought a little while ago, there's only a little bit left of school. Why are we going to switch again? I have talked to so many students and so many parents that have seen a change in their students in the last couple weeks since we decided it was worth it to do another change, which is not easy, and I feel horrible. It's been a rough year for everyone, but seeing and getting those comments from kids and parents, and when I live on the backside of Richmond, and it is a well-traveled seeing the kids come through and talking and hearing that sound again is just, it's wonderful. So thank you to everyone that is making these hard scheduling and just bell changes and everything. It is worth it. I promise everyone that it is worth it, and it's not easy, but it is worth it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully next year will be less changes and we can kind of ease in and get back into a flow. But, you know, Daima kind of mentioned, as graduations come up, I really want everyone to understand the masks. It is a health order. It is not an El Segundo order. It is not our board order. It is nothing we can change. And if we want to have these events and continue on, it is something we just need to do. You know, this is the least of where we've been, and we can finish this out. Just, I really hope we have the community just take part. I know our students have been amazing. Our staff has had to wear them. I know it makes teaching harder and cleaning harder and sitting in offices harder, but they have done it. So as our community comes onto our campuses for these graduations, please just put the masks on and let's, you know, make this easy for everyone. Richmond Street, you know, the PTA parents and the donations, you know, that they're making and doing, and the extra activities that they've had for students and wrapping up the year. I thank them for all that they're doing. And it's gonna be, because even though I really love sitting in my chair with my leg elevated and you know, it was quick to be on and be back, but I think this is how we will get the most done. And I know lots of preparations just to change the room again to have these things, but I do think it is well worth it. And thank you for everyone we're almost there. We're almost there.
We're so close. All right. Meetings and things I've been involved with the last couple weeks. The Facility Advisory Committee meeting. More talk about the high school multipurpose room and the driveway, the drop-off at Center Street that you've heard a lot about tonight. I just want to reiterate that those agendas and minutes are posted for anyone to see at any time, so they can catch up with us in more detail that way. I got to enjoy a 3-hour May Budget Revised workshop online, and I learned a lot. I learned I had to skip listening to a lot because our district doesn't qualify for a lot of things that were discussed in there. But again, ever grateful when we find those opportunities that we do qualify for and make the most of them. So Kim, thank you and your team for your continued watch and grab of everything that we can do. We appreciate it and spend it well. So thank you for that. I got a couple child vaccinations done in the last couple weeks, so that's good, and I hope others are doing that too to help create the safety in this community that, I keep watching the El Segundo numbers, and we were down to 2, and then we went back up to 4. I'm like, come on, guys, we can hit that 0. So I hope that we can get there very soon. I did enjoy seeing how many, 79 students were 4.0 students at the high school. Truly, the resilience and the focus and the strength that takes in this time, amazing. So kudos again to you and your fellow classmates that were honored at that event yesterday. And a beautiful event it was. Outdoors, safe, a little warm, but hey, we got to get ready for summer, got to break out the sunblock, so why not start now? But thank you to Dr. Gooden and Ms. Devantis and everyone at the high school that put that together. It was a lovely event. And I will echo what you said. I have people coming up to me left and right, all grades, saying how amazing it is to have the students back 4 or 5 days. And it's just breathed new life into many families, many homes, and well worth the effort. Again, so much work went into this at so many levels, but absolutely worth it for our students. So I appreciate all that's been done to make that happen. Thank you again to those of you that made this room possible for us to be here together, and all the mask wearing and all that. Thank you, Rachel, for my new mask. I'm glad to debut it tonight. And I wish you all a great holiday weekend. That's it for me.
Great. I'll keep my remarks brief. First of all, thank you for your acknowledgement of Danny and the tech team. They were down here practicing countless hours. As you noticed, we don't have El Segundo TV here. because our team has empowered themselves to live stream on our own. So we're very excited to be independent and handle this on our own and post this to our YouTube channel as far as ESUSD. And I think it's a great testament to Danny in investing in his team members to help learn new skills. So I'm very, very pleased with the outcome. In addition, very special thanks to Ali Rabihi and the maintenance team. I mean, can remember coming here in September, walking through the room, it was just full of stuff, right? It was full of stuff, and we had so much PPE, we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't have kids back in school. It was like, is this just a junkyard, you know? And it was through Ali's tireless efforts with the maintenance team that they really helped get this room together. And I don't know if the audience can see, but we have wonderful canvas prints of beautiful moments in our school district, from Eagle's Nest all the way to graduation at Arena and at El Segundo High School. So it really just tries to be a compilation of all of those things that make our school district so, so special. So whether it's athletics or art or music, or our seniors, or our teachers, whatever that might be, it's trying to just give someone just a few snapshots of what we stand for. So we're so happy to share that as people come into the space. I'm very pleased that Chief Donovan reached out to me recently, and they would like to partner with our district regarding vaccination for 12 to 15-year-olds. So I tapped our safety COVID compliance guy, Ali, and Ali worked with city personnel, and we're going to be hosting this next week starting on June 1st at El Segundo Middle School after school hours. So we will have over 200 slots each day. And so I'm sure we're going to have lists and appointment systems. So I'll look forward to bringing communication out to our families in the next day or two. In addition, I just want to clarify again for our community, I know both Member Wheaton and Member Lane brought it up, but you know, although the CDC has relaxed that guideline on the mask, California has not. So recently, last week, Dr. Mark Galley, who is at our state level Department of Public Health, just said that they do not plan to align yet, but will stick to, and this is the good news here, June 15th target date. And at that time, they anticipate they will no longer require social distancing and will allow full capacity for businesses when the state reopens on June 15th. And this is made possible by the lower virus cases and increasing vaccinations, meaning it's safe for the state to remove nearly all restrictions next month. So in anticipation of that, it is my intent to bring a recommendation to the board on June 8th, in keeping with our practice all along, coming to the board to say, our community needs to hear we are opening 5 days a week in the fall. We need to symbolically, as a governing team, make that declaration, and I plan to bring a recommendation to you on June 8th, so that gives all our families peace of mind. We're back, and bring those kids back home to us, because we provide a high-quality education. And lastly, one little good news. Earlier this year, I received a email from Sky One Federal Credit Union to honor a teacher, and it was right after we did our senior pods. And Robin Espinoza, Melissa Gooden, Sarah Devolantis did an amazing job, and I could only nominate a teacher for the Everyday Hero, or I would have nominated Dr. Gooden and Ms. Devolantis as well. So I nominated Robin Espinoza because she worked with those ASB kids to do an outstanding job. And then what happened was her name got put in a lottery based on my nomination, and she was one of two who were selected to receive a $1,000 Visa gift card. And so she received that this last weekend. And I would like to think her design, development, creativity, and working with our students to design and reimagine senior activities in the form of senior pods made her a frontline winner. And when somebody reached in, they said she needs to be the winner. And I just think it's another indicator of the collaboration, the good work, and what we're special about as a school district. So just love to share that good news. And Ms. Espinoza is going to enjoy some time and some rest with that $1,000.
Well earned, wonderful.
That's
Oh
all
my
my comments.
goodness, thank you. Okay, at this time, we're in the closing portion of our meeting, so is there any oral communication from the audience at this time? Hello? Nice to see you, but no, okay, thank you. Thank you for sitting here and waiting it out. What we're going to do now is recess to closed session to finish up a teeny tiny bit of business there. And so with that, I will dismiss and say we're closing open session at 8:42 p.m. and recessing to closed session.